Trump's national security advisor, Robert O'Brien, is defending so-called intel indicating that Qassem Soleimani was serving as an imminent threat to the United States, which essentially makes an excuse for Donald Trump's order of an assassination on Soleimani. Now, I want to be clear that the intelligence agencies have not provided any intel, at least publicly, and the Trump administration has not provided any specifics publicly. However, they're still pushing this narrative about how they have the intel and how they're going to share the details of that intel with Congress tomorrow on Wednesday, almost a week after this assassination took place. I would argue that if they had that intel to begin with, they would show it immediately to members of Congress to justify what is now, in my opinion, a war crime, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, let's go to Donald Trump arguing that he knew all about Soleimani's actions, when in reality, he didn't even know who Soleimani was. Take a look.
What can you tell us about what you knew prior to ordering the attack?
Well, number one, I knew the past. His past was horrible. He was a terrorist. He was so designated by President Obama, as you know. And he wasn't even supposed to be outside of his own country. He was, so right there. But that's, in a way, the least of it. We had an attack very recently that he was in charge of where we had people horribly wounded, one dead. In fact, the number now, as of this morning, I believe is 2 dead. And that was his. He was traveling with the head of Hezbollah. They weren't there to discuss a vacation. They weren't there to go to a nice resort someplace in Baghdad. They were there to discuss bad business. And we saved a lot of lives by terminating his life. A lot of lives are saved. They were planning something, and you're going to be hearing about it, or at least various people in Congress are going to be hearing about it tomorrow. Our Secretary of State covered it very well a little while ago. I saw his news conference, Mike. And if you want to mention a couple of things in addition to what I've just said, but we had tremendous information. We've been following him for a long time, and we followed his path for those 3 days, and they were not good stops. We didn't like where he was stopping. They were not good stops. We saved a lot of lives.
Okay, so we have an imbecile for president, you know this, but so-
He said nothing there, let's just be clear.
No, Anna, he clarified by saying he was up to bad business and by going to not good stops. Third graders president, and again, it's insulting third graders. So last week we showed you clips of Donald Trump being asked during the election season, who Qassem Soleimani was, and he said, "Oh, sure, I know who he is." And
yes.
And then they mentioned the Quds Force, and he's like, "Oh, the Kurds are good guys." And Hugh Hewitt was like, "No, the Quds Force from Iran." He's like, "It's a gotcha question. It's not fair." Well, I thought you said you knew who he was. So now here he is, a couple of years later, claiming he knows Soleimani really, really well. That's why he did this. Why? And what do you know about him? He's making not good stops.
Yeah, that means,
we're going to give you
nothing.
That means absolutely nothing, of course, except that he wanted to show that he was a tough guy by killing an Iranian general. So we're going to get to a quote that will definitively tell you that they knew nothing in a second, okay?
Yeah.
But I want to mention one other thing that he talked about there. He said he's a terrorist. This is a blanket statement that we make of everyone, and that's our enemy, and so it justifies all of our actions and all assassinations and all war crimes because we arbitrarily call them terrorists. Now, does Soleimani's actions lead to other people's deaths? Yes. Is he also the top general of Iran? Yes. So do the actions of some of our generals lead to deaths? Yes. Okay, are they terrorists? No. So now, even if you say, well, yeah, I know, but I don't like Iran, so I'd like to just call them terrorists. Remember, okay, that's fine, you could feel good about that, but remember it has ramifications.
Right.
Because they then call us terrorists and our generals and our diplomats terrorists, and they say, okay, well, if you have a right to murder our generals, we have a right to murder your generals and your other officials. And by the way, today, Iran at least actually was slightly more measured than Trump and said what America did was state terrorism. It's also a little bit more correct. And so Iran has done state terrorism, arguably, and now we have apparently done state terrorism. And so now we're all gonna murder one another, and that's how war starts.
Look, this isn't, it's really important for people to understand, this isn't a debate to adjudicate whether or not Soleimani was a bad person, right? No, this is about burden of proof, right? Think of it as like a murder trial, because something as heavy as war deserves a high burden of proof, right? So in this case, in order to unilaterally, without congressional authorization, do a drone strike that assassinates a top general in a sovereign country, you need to provide evidence, irrefutable evidence, that that individual served as an imminent threat. What does an imminent threat mean? It means that he was about to carry out an attack that was going to kill members of our military, US personnel, what have you. They have failed to provide that. Again, this is not a debate about whether or not Soleimani is a bad guy. There are many bad guys around the world that the United States is in bed with. Trump is specifically in bed with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, who ordered the murder of a US journalist and US resident Jamal Khashoggi.
Hey guys, can we just at least all agree that obviously Mohammed bin Salman is a terrorist by this standard? He chopped up a journalist, literally dismembered him. It doesn't get any more terrorist than that. So are we allowed to murder Mohammed bin Salman? Do we have an obligation to murder Mohammed bin Salman? Because this is not my philosophy. This is Donald Trump's philosophy. Now, do you have any idea what would happen if we not randomly, but because of that, assassinated Mohammed bin Salman? A lot of terrible consequences would come from that. I can't stand the Saudi government, but I wouldn't want to assassinate Salman. I'd want to do it through legal processes and bring him to justice for the murder of Khashoggi. But we don't just drop bombs on people because we felt like it or it was in our political best interests.
Because that escalates war, and that actually threatens the lives of more members of our military and US personnel abroad. That's why you have to think about strategy, not whether or not you emotionally find someone appealing enough to not attack them. So look, I have to make one quick clarification as well. In the beginning of the clip that we showed you, Trump said something about how Soleimani was designated by Obama. He wasn't designated by Obama. In fact, since we're talking about Saudi Arabia, Obama in 2011 sanctioned Soleimani specifically because he was targeting our ally, Saudi Arabia. So it's not as if the Obama administration was like buddy-buddy with Soleimani. That is not the case at all. In fact, Obama in 2011, again, sanctioned him. Now with that said, let's go to the National Security Advisor to Donald Trump, Robert O'Brien. He's gonna explain, again, very vaguely, that there is intel that pushed them to do this. Take a look.
The intel that we had, the information we had, which we believe was very strong, showed that Soleimani and those he was plotting with were looking to kill American diplomats and soldiers in significant numbers in the coming days. And that's why the president authorized the successful operation that was undertaken by the US military.
So it's important for you to understand that everything that's coming out of these Trump administration officials is a flat out lie. They're being vague on purpose because they don't have the intel to prove that Soleimani was an imminent threat. In fact, if you don't believe me because you just think, oh, well, she's a progressive and she doesn't want this war, first of all, you're right about that. But let's hear from General Mark Milley, I apologize. General Mark Milley, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I'm gonna read you his quote. He said, I will be happy when the appropriate time comes and in front of the proper committees and anybody else through history and I will stand by the intelligence I saw that it was compelling, it was imminent, it was very, very, very clear in scale, scope. Okay, fine.
No, that sounds pretty definitive, Anna.
That sounds definitive, right? And then I'm not joking, immediately follows that quote with this. Did it exactly say who, what, when, where? No. But he was planning, coordinating, and synchronizing significant combat operations against US military forces in the region, and it was imminent, he said, adding that, quote, we would have been culpably negligent to the American people had we not made the decision we made.
No, it's over, it's over. Did it say when, who, where? No. In other words, you didn't have anything. Okay, you didn't have anything. It's a lie, it's a lie. Did we know who they were gonna kill? No. Wait a minute, you didn't know who they were gonna kill. Then how did you know they were gonna kill anybody? Did we know when or where? No. So then what the hell did you know? You didn't know anything. Everything else is a lie. That's the Joint Chiefs right there, admitting on the record, we didn't know who the hell he was gonna target or if he was gonna target anyone, we just made it up. We just made it up. Why? Donald Trump thought, okay, well, I mean, I have to show that when the embassy is, attacked, it's not going to be a Benghazi. I guarantee you that is the #1 reason. Yeah, distract from impeachment. Yes, want to prove a tough guy, etc. It was the Benghazi thing that I think motivated him the most. Like, I'm going to show that I'm tougher than Obama. I'm going to outdo Obama for once. No, guys, it's over. It's over. The head of the Joint Chiefs said, we had no effing idea. You just saw the quote. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.